President Maria Fernanda Espinosa, President of the General Assembly in the 73rd session, welcome to Al-Arabiya.
Well, I'm very happy to be here, and thank you for having me, Talal.
It's our honor. Thank you so much. First of all, I think congratulations are in order for your election as the President of the General Assembly of the 73rd session. You are only the fourth woman in history of the United Nations to be the President of the General Assembly, and you are the first woman from the Latin America and the Caribbean area to be in that position. So congratulations are in order. I would like to ask you, how does that make you feel, and how will it form your leadership style over the coming year?
Well, I think it's a privilege and an honor to be the first Latin American and Caribbean woman in having the privilege to be the President of the General Assembly, to be in charge in a way. So it is an honor and a privilege, but also a great responsibility, because we have a very, very ambitious agenda for the upcoming session, but also because there are expectations about the delivery capacity of a woman that takes over that responsibility. And of course, we do have 30 mandates, more than 18 high-level events, conferences, and summits to organize next year. But I have come up also with 7 priorities to work over the coming year. So program is ambitious. I know that I rely very much on the support of member states, but I think that the United Nations has to be fit for purpose, and we really want to deliver in accordance to the expectations and the needs of people that we represent and that we stand for here.
Of course. You mentioned your 7 priorities. I'd like to mention them quickly, if I may. Gender equality, migration and refugees, decent work, climate action, disabilities, the role of your youth in peace and security, and finally the revitalization of the United Nations. Are these priorities I've just read through achievable in 1 year, and how do you ensure the continuation of your work to achieve them?
Well, I think that sometimes multilateralism is challenged, but I am a true believer that global problems have only one way to be addressed, is through collective action. Yes. And the United Nations is the house for collective action. So I am committed to delivering. I have come up even with an acronym, the DARE acronym, the DARE making things work, the DARE to do better. DARE is about delivery, accountability, relevance, and efficiency. And I think we can deliver. There are very specific mandates. The 7 priorities, they are the outcome of more than 100 consultations with member states. They are also part of the mandates that already exist for the General Assembly for this year. And we have very specific work plans for each one of the priorities. It's not that we are going to solve in 1 year the issue of migration and refugees, but we are going to take the issue very seriously, to use the momentum of the Global Compact on Migration, of the Marrakesh Summit in December, and making sure that
and sustainable development,
yes,
I suppose.
The SDGs, of course,
SDGs, yeah.
but to make sure that the Global Compact on Migration is fully implemented next year, for example.
So you're looking forward to the conference or summit, hopefully in Marrakesh in December, is it, or November?
It's December
yeah.
this year, and hopefully we will have world leaders come to Marrakesh and really be very bold on the messages regarding the need for an orderly and safe migration for all.
But since this migration compact is voluntary, it's not binding to the states, how do you ensure its implementation?
Well, I think the issue of binding, not binding, I think that the General Assembly is a norm-setting, public policy setting body. We are the Parliament of Humanity, and I think that every country at the national level, every regional integration space should be responsible on the decisions that we all adopt. I think that being a parliament, of course, we have to deliver on issues that we are to be complied with in the future. So I am sure that member states are convinced that they have a commitment regarding the human rights of persons in human mobility, of migrants and refugees, and that the world is going to deliver.
Making the United Nations relevant to all people seem to be, this is your global leadership of shared responsibility and peaceful, equitable, and sustainable societies. But how can the General Assembly strengthen the relevance of the United Nations?
Well, I think that the General Assembly is the most representative body of the system. We have 193 seats, 193 buttons to vote, and microphones. So everybody has the right to speak, to vote, and to debate and express their views.
It's a real democracy within the UN system.
Yes, so it's the universal body of the system, and I think is perhaps the most important body in terms of its norm-setting responsibility. So I think that we should ensure that the General Assembly delivers. That's why the process of revitalization of the General Assembly is so important, to improve its working methods, to improve its efficiency, to make sure that the General Assembly is fit for purpose and that it responds to the global challenge of our times. Climate change, HIV, tuberculosis, non-communicable diseases, resilience to disasters, peace and security issues, of course. Sure. So there are so many issues in the agenda, and I think that world leaders are aware of that. That's why this high-level week is going to be the scenario of the presence of more than 130 heads of state and government. I think it's a record number of leaders that are coming to New York because they find that this is the platform for them to address public opinion around the world and to address their own countries as well, but to interact with their peers. That's why the United Nations is relevant. So my intention and the theme of this year of making the UN relevant for all people is because we want to bring the organization closer to the people, and we want to bring the people closer to the organization. There is a lot of communication work that needs to be done for this to happen, but greater participation of civil society as well.
You spoke about revitalization of the General Assembly, but there are lots of people, of course, their biggest concern is the reform, the revitalization of the Security Council. How are you going to handle this, to tackle this issue of reforms in the Security Council during the one-year tenure?
Well, there are several reform processes ongoing. There is one very important that was put forward by the Secretary General, the 3 pillars of the reform, the management reform, the peace and security reform, and the development reform. This is a new architecture that would enable the organization to improve its working methods. I think it's very important. And next year is going to be hopefully an implementation year for the reform. So that's already a very good message for the outside world, that the United Nations is reinventing itself in order to deliver more and better. And regarding Security Council reform, this is a process that has been ongoing for 25 years now. It has moved. There is some progress that has been made. This year, of course, I need to appoint 2 co-facilitators to lead the dialogue. And
different from the ones who were appointed last year, the Emirates and...
Yes, we are still discussing. I think that the current 2 co-facilitators, they have done an excellent job. And we are still having conversation on this regard, but the idea is that to continue the process, and we have to understand that this is a state-driven process. And I hope that the commitment and the willingness to advance would be there next year as well.
Forgive me for saying, but many people are saying this is a never-ending process. When I say that concerning the reforms of the Security Council, but we will not stop there. I'd like to ask you about the significant budget cuts at the United Nations. That is so much that earlier this this summer, the Secretary General issued an appeal advisory to all member states to pay their dues because of the cuts in budget. How will these budgetary concerns impact the future work of the General Assembly and all its entities that during your tenure?
Well, I have to say that the responsibilities, the mandates of the United Nations grow year by year. We have to do more for a biggest number of people,
With less money?
and hopefully not with less money. And even the reform is going to be, to have a budgetary impact. But it is a reform that is going to really make the organization deliver better. So I think that perhaps the secret is to diversify the sources of funding. This year is a very challenging year for the Fifth Committee because the scale of assessment is going to be decided. But regarding specific funding that perhaps some member states have decided to withdraw their support, there are other countries that are coming really to support or to cover for the countries that have decided to just not continue contributing to one or to A or B initiative of the organization. So I think that the issue of diversification, of sustainability in funding, of predictability is extremely important to the organization.
If I ask you as the President of the General Assembly for this year, what is really the most that you're looking forward to during this UNGA?
Well, I would say that first of all to reboost the power of multilateralism. I think it's very important that the public opinion, that the normal citizen, they understand the work that the United Nations does. This is an organization that delivers, that it's really it's an organization that is highly needed by the people that are and sorry that I'm repeating this, but
Yes,
the
fine.
people in need, the most vulnerable,
Yes.
the refugees, the women and girls that are victims of violent conflict, the people with AIDS, the people that are hungry, the ones that are victims of the devastating effects of climate change. These are the people that need the organization to deliver. So I think that I would really very much look forward of having the global public opinion understand better our work. Secondly, I think it's very important to use the platform of the United Nations to increase our dialogue capacity, our consensus building capacity. This is going to be my role as President of the General Assembly, to really foster this common trust, this collective action when facing the enormous global challenges of humanity. And thirdly, look at specific themes on which we can deliver and that are so important. For example, the issue of migration. I think that we have gone far in having a final document on the Global Compact on Migration and the Global Compact on Refugees. So what is at stake now is our capacity to deliver and implement. The other very important issue is the reform process of the United Nations. And I think that there is political will and political commitment to make it happen somewhat.
I smile because the Security Council really has been going on. The reform has been going for years, since the early 90s. And there was really not much progress that has been done.
Well, what I'm referring specifically at the three pillars of the reform
Of course,
that
yeah.
have been negotiated by member states,
Yes.
and if we have a better development architecture to deliver on the 2030 agenda, if we have a better structure for the peace and security pillar for peacekeeping operations, if we have a better delivery capacity and more efficiency in the management part, we will be, better off, I would say. We will be in better conditions. Of course, Security Council reform, everybody's saying, well, but this has been going on for 25 years.
And it's important.
Progress is made little by little, perhaps not in a way or in a dimension that would be expected, but I am an optimist by nature, So I'm really looking forward to seeing, perhaps greater commitment from member states on that front as well.
Gender equality is one of your goals and priorities. Do you think we're making big progress in the world? I know the United Nations under Antonio Guterres is making a big progress in that field and the parity of women and men, but as a whole, is the world making headway?
Well, I think that the voice of the UN is very strong. UN Women has played a very important role. To have a feminist Secretary General helps a lot. He committed himself to have
Yes.
parity in the highest levels
That's
of the
true.
organization,
That's
and
true.
he just complied with that.
That's true.
And very quickly he did really twist, a very strong twist on that front. And of course, as president of the General Assembly, as a woman president, I will make sure that I work very hard. My cabinet is a fully a cabinet with full parity, I have to say, not only of wide regional representation, but it's a cabinet with full parity, and we have to ensure that all the activities that are connected to the General Assembly have a gender parity lens, I would say. But we are going to also work on other aspects of gender equality, such as the economic empowerment of women, the access to work and decent work, equal job, equal pay, but also the political empowerment of women. More decision-making spaces and places for women around the world are much needed, and we are going to be working towards that.
I must give the Secretary General some credit. I remember he gave me his first interview after the confirmation by the General Assembly, and I said to him, "Who's going to be your deputy?" He told me straight on the air, we were talking, and he said, "I'm a man from the north. My deputy has to be a woman from the south." And actually, it happened. Amina Mohammed was appointed after that.
Yes.
And I am, I'm
And
really...
under Secretary Generals, all
absolutely,
the personnel
absolutely,
with high positions,
absolutely.
full parity. So he has walked the talk, as we
He
say.
did.
And
He did.
he did.
We must give him credit there. My last question is, as a lady from Latin America. Latin America is doing very well this year. You are the president of the General Assembly, and Michelle Bachelet, she is from Chile, and she is the High Commissioner for Human Rights. And of course, ECOSOC president is Rhonda King from St. Vincent. So why do you think ladies from South America has been very successful this year, or is it the year of the Latinos?
Well, I think that in general, women of Latin America are powerful and very capable, as every
Yes.
female political leader around the world. I think that the history is bringing us together in a way. So we feel, and of course I cannot speak on behalf of Rhonda or President Bachelet, but I am sure
High Commissioner.
that the three of us will be able to make the difference. We have been having meetings and very interesting coordinating dialogues already.
Fantastic.
And I think it's a unique opportunity to bring the voice of Latin American and Caribbean women to the world, and just also, push a little bit to have an impulse for other women around the world to really fight for the spaces they deserve.
I congratulate three of you, and I congratulate you, Maria, Fernanda, Espinosa, for being elected as the first woman from Latin America as a president of the General Assembly. I wish you all the very best of luck in ANGA 73, and we thank you for this interview. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Talal.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure.
God bless.
It's been
Thank
a
you.
pleasure.
Thank you.